Hello everyone, welcome to the Retro Baker. I'm Laura Sawyer Messing and I'm so delighted that you've joined me in my kitchen today. Today's recipe, let me tell you, I think everyone needs a great chocolate cake recipe, and this is it. If I had a recipe all-star team, this cake would be the captain, the MVP, the GOAT, everything. It's so easy to make. You can make it with things that are already in your pantry, and it turns out perfectly every single time. If you make this as written in the recipe, it will never fail you. So the name of this recipe is Good Moist Chocolate Milk. And the reason it's called that is because my great-grandmother wrote this recipe down from a Midwestern radio show called Kitchen Klatter back in the very early 70s. And she, instead of Good Moist Chocolate Cake, wrote Good Moist Chocolate Milk. This has been a family favorite in my family for 30 years, and it's just because it's so good. And it's so easy to prepare, so let's get started. We're gonna need 2.5 cups of cake flour. If you don't have cake flour handy in your pantry, don't worry. For every cup of flour, just basic all-purpose flour, remove 2 tablespoons of flour and replace it with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. That's basically what cake flour is. It's all-purpose flour plus cornstarch. And the cornstarch kind of lightens the flour up. So don't worry, substitutions work fine. I've made it both ways. To that, I'm gonna add 2 cups of sugar. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 cup of cocoa, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, because you need a little bit of salt in there. And I'm just gonna take my handy whisk and give it a little stir just to kind of incorporate everything. To that, we're gonna add our wet ingredients. We've got 2 eggs. We've got 1 cup of cooking oil. Anytime you have a cake that's made with oil, that oil is going to give you a lot of moisture, and it turns out great. We're going to add 1 cup of buttermilk. This particular recipe, you're going to see some chemistry in action. It has a lot of reactions that cause it to really lighten up the recipe and get some nice aeration. I'm going to mix that up a little bit. Now, we are going to boil 1 cup of water. While that's boiling, I'm going to incorporate the wet and dry ingredients. I like to use glass bowls when I'm hand mixing a cake because I can see what's going on at the bottom and can always make sure that everything is well incorporated. For beginning bakers, this is a great recipe. Add our baking soda. I always kind of swirl it around to make sure that baking soda gets well incorporated, and I get all of it out because we need it to react with the buttermilk. I do the little circle tactic to make sure it doesn't just splash up everywhere on me. It kind of gets the party started in terms of mixing, and then I just bring it all around. So this recipe was originally written, I said it came from a radio show called Kitchen Klatter. And Kitchen Klatter, they were literally the first diversified media moguls back in the day, before there was like Martha Stewart Omnimedia, before there was Oprah. There was the Driftmeyer family out of Shenendoah, Iowa. And they had a magazine, a radio show, they had a line of flavorings. And the way this recipe was originally written, it had vanilla, burnt sugar flavoring, and butter flavoring. Today's butter flavoring tastes very butterscotchy, and it's not delicious. So I leave it out. So I have a prepared 9x13 pan. I just give it a little cooking spray. If you don't like cooking spray, you can use a little bit of oil on a paper towel just to grease it. So we're gonna bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. All right, our timer went off at the 30-minute mark. Here we have our cake. This cake, you'll notice there's a little mark in the middle. This cake will puff up and then kind of drop in the middle. So don't worry about that because we're gonna frost it. All right, our cake is completely cooled. You wanna let it cool completely before you frost it, otherwise you're gonna have a hot mess. My grandmother, she always made this cake, and she made a milk chocolate frosting that contained raw egg, which, believe it or not, was very common back in the day. My mom makes kind of a more ganache frosting for it. She uses melted chocolate chips and butter and cream and makes a frosting that way. I make just a American buttercream frosting using cocoa powder, and it is delicious. I know it looks like a lot of frosting, but trust me, you're gonna want it. You're gonna want a lot of frosting. It's delicious. And if you've never invested in an offset spatula, believe you me, you are missing out, because I used to just use a knife. I thought, why do I need that? And then I bought one. It's just so easy to get in there and really spread your frosting around. So you probably noticed we didn't have any super fancy ingredients in here. Everything we had was pretty much things that a lot of people just have on hand. Some things in life will let you down, but not this cake. I like to add a little swirl on top just to make it pretty, because I don't generally decorate this cake. This is the first time I've shared this family recipe with anyone, and I don't gatekeep here at the Retro Baker, so here it is. Good moist chocolate milk. So delicious, so foolproof. I just really think you're going to enjoy it. Thank you so much for stopping by my kitchen today, and remember, it doesn't have to be complicated to be delicious.